Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about the life and career of Don Henley.
One of the greats.
Absolutely. And you know him as the voice behind so many iconic songs with the Eagles. But, uh, I think what's interesting is that his journey starts way before that.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole lot more to his story before we get to those stadium rock anthems.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to dive into today, the path, the lesser-known story of his early years, and really how he became Don Henley. The Don Henley.
Right, and how he got there.
Yeah. So let's rewind all the way back to Linden, Texas. A small town where Don Henley grew up. And believe it or not, he was more into sports than music in those early days.
Yeah, it's funny how those early passions can really shape who you become.
Right.
But, Henley's upbringing in Linden, was a small town with a strong work ethic, and that had a big impact on him, instilled in him this discipline and perseverance that would really serve him well later on in the music business.
And that's so interesting. I mean, how does somebody go from, the football field to becoming a rock star?
Well, it all started with his family. They were hardworking people who appreciated storytelling and music. The sounds of country and blues and gospel were all around him while he was growing up, and you can still hear that blend of genres in his music today.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's funny because his first band experience was actually in a Dixieland band.
Right.
Which is pretty far from the rock and roll that we know and love him for.
Yeah, it is. It really shows you the range of his early influences. He wasn't afraid to, try different styles. And that openness would be so important to his development as a musician.
Totally. And then in 1964, he forms a band with his friend Richard Bowden called the Four Speeds.
Mm-hmm.
And then later they added Jerry Surratt and became Felicity. And he's already writing songs at this point.
Yeah.
And they even released a single.
This is where you start to see Henley's ambition. He wasn't content just playing covers. He wanted to write and hurtin'. That early single, it really gives you a glimpse of the songwriter he would become.
Yeah.
There was this raw energy and a storytelling quality that would really blossom later on in his work with the Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, they have this chance meeting that kind of changes they meet Kenny Rogers.
Talk about a pivotal moment.
Yeah,
Rogers saw the potential in this young band, and he became a mentor to them. He guided them through the industry, helped them evolve into Shiloh, and eventually make their way to Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's amazing. And their time in L.A., it wasn't all roses.
Right.
I mean, they released an album, a self-titled album, but then tragedy struck when Jerry Surratt died in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, the loss, it had a profound impact on Henley, personally and creatively. It forced him to really confront mortality and that sense of loss and that resilience. You can hear it in his music. Yeah. Even in his later work with the Eagles, you can hear echoes of that experience. Yeah, it's amazing how, like you said, some of those tough times, but also those positive moments really shape an artist.
Right. And it's like Shiloh, it kind of fades away.
Right.
But those experiences, they stay with Don Henley.
They do. They stay with him.
And that's where we kind of see this next chapter begin and really kind of the seeds of the Eagles being planted.
Exactly. He finds himself in Los Angeles, a city just, brimming with musical energy. And this is where he meets Glenn Frey, another aspiring musician who would become his, songwriting partner and bandmate in the Eagles.
And they both end up backing Linda Ronstadt.
Yes, that's right. And that's where their musical connection really ignites. They recognize a shared ambition in each other.
Right.
A desire to create music that went beyond, just the typical pop formulas of the time.
And they weren't afraid to experiment, to blend genres like country rock and folk. And that's what really gave the Eagles that unique sound.
Yeah, and Henley's early experiences with Shiloh played a role in that. He'd already been honing his songwriting skills and exploring those Americana influences. So when he and Frey started writing together, they were tapping into this welly inspiration.
And it's amazing to think that some of those early songs that they wrote together would become like those iconic Eagles hits.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Take Witchy Woman, for instance. Henley co-wrote that song, and it's a perfect example of their ability to blend those country rock elements with this touch of mystique and storytelling.
Yeah, and their debut album in 1972. I mean, it just takes the world by storm. Take It Easy, Witchy Woman. I mean, these songs become instant classics.
Yeah, and Henley's voice with that blend of, grit and vulnerability, it became synonymous with the Eagles sound. He had this way of delivering lyrics with such conviction that it just drew you into the stories that he was telling.
Yeah, and then, comes Desperado in 1973. And I think that album really solidifies Henley's role as a songwriter.
Yeah. Yeah. That title track, which he co-wrote with Frey, it became one of their signature ballads.
Yeah.
It's a song about longing and searching for connection and facing life's challenges, and you can hear the echoes of Henley's own journey in those lyrics, the lessons he learned about love and loss and the pursuit of dreams.
And as the Eagles' success grows, so does Henley's songwriting, and he starts to explore more complex themes, reflecting on kind of the darker side of fame and the American dream.
Yeah. Hotel California, which was released in 1976, it marked a turning point for them, that album, and especially the title track. It showcased Henley's lyrical maturity. He was grappling with the disillusionment and the excess that often came with success.
Right.
And it was a theme that really resonated deeply with their audience.
But, even as they're reaching this pinnacle of fame, there's some cracks starting to show.
Right.
Those creative tensions and the pressures of their lifestyle eventually lead to their breakup in 1980.
Yeah, it's almost inevitable when you have, such strong personalities and artistic visions within a band.
Right.
And, the faster they rose, the harder they fell. But remember, our focus here is on that journey that led Henley to that point. Those formative experiences that shaped his music before and during his time with the Eagles.
So let's step back from the Eagles saga for a moment and really consider, those early years, those influences that were brewing long before Hotel California.
Exactly, because to truly understand Don Henley's music, you have to look beyond, the stadium tours and the platinum records and delve into the heart of where it all began.
Yeah, it really is amazing to trace those threads back to those roots in Linden, Texas. And how did that small town upbringing, how did that influence the music that he created?
Well, you can hear it in the honesty of his lyrics,
Yeah.
the way he captures the struggles and the triumphs of everyday people. There's a real down-to-earth quality to his storytelling, even when he's, singing about the high life and life in the fast lane.
And those gospel influences that you mentioned earlier, you can really hear that woven into the fabric of his music.
Oh, absolutely. Listen to the harmonies in a song like Tequila Sunrise,
Yeah.
or the soulful yearning in Desperado. I mean, those elements, they come directly from the gospel music he heard growing up.
And he even brings that Southern storytelling style to like his rock anthems.
Yeah.
You think about a song like Hotel California.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not just a kitschy tune. It's a tale about the dark side of the American dream.
Right.
It's a cautionary tale told with, vivid imagery and this sense of foreboding.
And those themes of disillusionment and searching for meaning, they're rooted in his personal experiences too. Remember that loss he experienced with Jerry Surratt's passing,
Right.
that sense of mortality and the fragility of life. I mean, it found its way into his music, and it gave it this depth and this resonance that connected with millions of listeners.
So it's not just about the music itself. It's about the man behind the music.
Yeah.
Don Henley brought his whole life to the stage, his Texas roots, his heartbreaks, his triumphs.
Yeah.
And that authenticity, I think, is what makes his music so enduring.
Exactly. When you understand where an artist comes from, you appreciate their work on a whole new level. You can hear those influences, those experiences woven into the tapestry of their sound.
Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into Don Henley's journey, here's a thought for you. Go back and listen to his music, both of the Eagles and his solo work, with these insights in mind. You might be surprised at how much richer and more meaningful it becomes when you understand the man behind those iconic songs.
Yeah, it's a testament to the power of music to transcend time and place, those songs that Henley helped create. They continue to resonate with generation after generation, and a big part of that is because they're rooted in something real, something human, something that speaks to our shared experiences of love and loss and hope and the search for meaning in a complicated world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep discovering the stories behind the music you love.